Hello, and welcome back to MoJo JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the one and only Powerpuff Girls / JoJo's Bizarre Adventure recap and discussion podcast. I'm Raven.
And I'm Alison.
Today we are going to be discussing the JoJo's Stardust Crusaders episodes The Lovers Part 2 and The Sun. Before we get into those episodes, just a reminder to, if you haven't already, like or subscribe, depending on what platform you're listening to this on, to the show, and maybe leave us a comment or a review. We'd love the feedback, and we would like to get our show pushed out there for more folks to see it. Reviews are a good way to do that.
Have any news?
I don't think I have anything this week. I do keep seeing JoJo rumors that they're going to announce when Part 7 of JoJo is going to air. I've heard them say they're maybe going to announce it like April 24th or 25th. I think that's just like a rumor, but it would be nice to know when the next part comes out.
Y'all.
From that, I think that's all the news I have. I will start talking about The Lovers Part 2. Dan mocks Jotaro by telling him what a good bridge he made. He makes Jotaro scratch his back, which makes Joseph feel like he's being tickled by a ghost over on the other side of town. He yells and screams, which attracts an audience. They throw coins at Joseph. Polnareff makes Kakyoin buy the TV they were using to see into Joseph's mind so they can leave. Meanwhile, Dan consents Silver Chariot and Hierophant Green helping Joseph by going into his bloodstream and is none too pleased. Joseph and Co. set up the TV in an empty spot and Kakyoin and Polnareff get to work. When they get to Joseph's brainstem, there are tentacles everywhere and the Lovers is turning Joseph's brain cells into mush. Silver Chariot decides to julienne him, but after he does so, knows that the Lovers is not defeated. He talks to Hierophant Green about this, but when he turns around, there's a second Hierophant Green, and the original one is like, that wasn't me, and also that wasn't the real Lovers, and we see the Lovers that Chariot attacked turning into goo. The Lovers use Joseph's brain cells to disguise itself as Hierophant Green and also to make another of itself, which Chariot attacked. Dan makes Jotaro polish his shoes until they sparkle. Jotaro makes note of all the bullshit Dan made him do in his handy-dandy notebook so that he could put it on Dan's tab. When he explains this, Dan hits him. We cut back to Joseph's brain. The Lovers that Polnareff attacked splits itself in two. The Lover says some shit about Aesop's fables and knowing his own weaknesses. Kakyoin isn't having that, so he hits him with Emerald Splash, which causes the Lovers to duplicate itself further. They're like, well, you can only have one stand, so only one of them is real, and for some reason attack it again, which makes yet more brain cell duplicates. Kakyoin realizes the more duplicates they hit, the more decoys it'll make, which, duh, Kakyoin, you're killing me. Joseph asks Polnareff to withdraw his stand before he gets himself killed, but Polnareff refuses because he doesn't want Joseph to die like this. Kakyoin and Polnareff keep their stands in there, and the Lovers gloats about the weakest stand being the most powerful, and he keeps saying, the most. Dan makes Jotaro shoplift at a jewelry store, then stitches on him when he retrieves it. A bunch of burly guys come out and beat him up, but Jotaro doesn't hit back when Dan taunts him about not using his stand on civilians. And I was like, couldn't he just punch them back without using his stand? So he kind of just stands there and takes it.
Yeah.
Dan stands there and laughs, but then uses Jotaro's ass-kicking as a decoy to get even fancier jewelry stolen. Jotaro is kicked out of the jewelry store and told not to come back. And then he starts laughing, and he's like, your punishment has doubled after that, because I'm about to kick your ass after Kakyoin saves my grandpa. Meanwhile, Kakyoin has been using Hierophant's tentacles to reach all around Joseph's brainstem to determine the real Lovers. He takes it out with ease, and Dan's forehead starts bleeding profusely. The Lovers and its duplicates start digging their way out of Joseph's brain, and Joseph uses Hamlin to finally take out the flesh bud. Joseph's like, this experience has brought us closer together, but if the Lovers is trying to escape my brain, doesn't that mean that it will? And we see the Lovers fly out and off towards Dan. Jotaro gloats about Kakyoin defeating the Lovers and grabs Dan by the hair when he tries to run away. Dan begs for his life and literally licks Jotaro's boots, but is scheming to put lovers inside Jotaro's brain next. The lovers nearly flies into Jotaro's ear, but Star of Platinum deftly catches it before it can enter Jotaro's ear and squashes the lovers. Dan's arm and leg are mangled. Jotaro's like, "Didn't you do any research on us before fighting us?" Dan grovels and begs him not to hurt him more and says he'll go to a deserted island so Jotaro never has to see him again. Jotaro tells him to get lost, but in Dan's anger, he decides to stick his stand on the little girl walking nearby. Dan taunts him about that and says that Jotaro must let him stab him in the back so he can never walk again, or he'll kill the innocent girl with his stand. Jotaro tells him just to stab him then, and Dan's like, "I told you not to move," but suddenly Dan himself can't move. Jotaro uses this as an opportunity to make Dan stab himself in the face with the knife that he is holding. It is revealed that Dan can't move because Kakumin used Hierophant's tentacles to wrap around the lover's leg as it left, thus constricting Dan's movements. Dan freaks out and asks for forgiveness, and Jotaro says he should ask for forgiveness from Inaba for killing her, but Jotaro has no forgiveness and pummels the absolute shit out of Dan and sends him flying into a brick building. Jotaro tears off the paper he was using to record Dan's tab and says, "Here's the receipt, you can keep the freaking change," and walks away, ending the episode. I know in my heart that if Jotaro could, he would really say the F word and not just freaking.
Oh.
If it were not being aired, the dub would have been airing on Adult Swim then, but the last, for part 6, it got picked up by Netflix, so then they were allowed to say more cusses.
Okay. Not totally sure what I want to say here. I kind of noted, like, there's always some sort of decoy. It's like the lovers thing made some decoys of itself.
Right.
And then I noted that the decoys are being made out of the brain cells.
Yeah, I thought that was weird because a lot of stands just seem like they would have such an ability within themselves already, but he had to make it out of something else.
Yeah, because is it Silver Chariot? Can't it multiply itself?
Yeah, it goes so fast that it looks like it has duplicates.
Okay. Dan was just super annoying.
Yes.
I mean, I guess he just thought he had the upper hand and that he could do all that stuff to Jotaro, but he's just making him madder and madder and madder, so
yeah,
it wasn't great. And, there's still 4 of them against him, so he maybe shouldn't have been so sure of himself.
Yeah, he was so cocky and arrogant about the whole thing just because his stand was so tiny and he didn't think they could magic school bus shrink themselves down in there.
I still don't really get the lovers thing. It just seems like it's 2.
Yeah.
I don't. Or even why it was named. It looked like a bug. Maybe if they'd made it a little cute Cupid type thing or something, but it was just looked like an ugly mechanical metallic bug thingy.
Yeah. A bug type thing with some crab claws. So I didn't really get that either. It just seemed like the name was just slapped on it and there's I don't know. This one could be the lovers.
And then it's kind of weird. So he puts the stand in someone's brain, but then things have to happen to him, Dan, to punish the person that his stand is inside. And I understand that the other person feels it way more, but it's just a really odd idea for a stand.
Yeah. In a way, it's he's a living voodoo doll, in the way that I understand voodoo dolls anyways.
Yeah, I guess I can sort of see that. I don't know. Unless he was just kind of looking for a way to further humiliate and beat up Jotaro. The whole going in the jewelry store and that whole thing and stealing. Because he got paid a whole bunch by Dio.
Yeah.
So why does he need to steal the jewelry?
I mean, if he was a little bit more clever, I would think he was making Jotaro do some of the stuff so that he would purposely want to then beat the absolute shit out of him at the end of it, so then he would be injured by Jotaro, but so would Gramps.
Yeah. Or if he really wanted, it seemed like he did want to actually steal the stuff.
Yeah.
Jotaro did have a way of getting it without getting caught, and then he just has him get caught.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did kind of think that was part of what he was trying to do, like you said, was to get Jotaro to hit him so that he was hurting his own grandpa.
Yeah. Yeah, like that mixed with like he knows that Jotaro can't do anything without hurting him, so then he's making him do the most absurd shit.
And honestly, if they really wanted to, they probably could have followed Gramps and Kakyoin and Polnareff if they wanted to. It's not like Jotaro was holding him back or anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, I mean, I'm assuming like possibly Dan died here.
He may have. He did get thrown into the side of a building.
Yeah. But like some of these stand users aren't being killed, right? Because like I don't actually like a lot of them aren't being killed. Like some of them are. Maybe like it might be like 50-50, but
Yeah.
are we not worried that some of them are gonna come back?
Let me actually look up, did that kill Dan? Because sometimes, I know we can't see, like, they'll have, like, a little text, but it's in Japanese, so we can't read it, but it'll be like, retired.
Oh.
So let me see, what does it say about Dan?
Because like that orangutan could come back, right? They didn't kill it either.
Yeah, it just says retired. It doesn't say he died.
Okay. I mean, I can see them not wanting to come back, and if they've already been paid, like, why would you want to? But
Yeah.
that whole exchange with him was kind of odd. Like, I kind of do appreciate it, like, being over, like, a couple episodes or whatever. But just him being at that exact food stand that they decided to stop at, and
Yeah.
I mean, granted, Gramps is always, like, worried about food, but
Yeah. I don't know if there's like some weird way in which like stand users can like always sort of sense each other or like what the hell? Like maybe Dio has like other agents that just kind of like keep track of the Joestar group and they're like, Lord Dio, they're headed here. Oh shit, let me go send this guy after him.
yeah, kind of push them towards where they want them to.
Yeah.
Control the traffic lights or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next episode is called The Sun. Gramps and company are heavy breathing in the desert under a huge fiery sun, wondering how they got in this situation. So it kind of goes to the theme song then, and then it shows that they crossed the Arabian Sea at Karachi and arrived in the United Arab Emirates, where Gramps purchases a fancy car, which they again make Polnareff drive for some reason. They drive through a bunch of mansions, and Gramps tells about the thriving oil industry. Kakyoin says he feels like he's being watched. Gramps shows them Yarplane on a map. He wants to buy a small plane like a Cessna to get them across the desert. The others aren't too thrilled with this. He wants them to get to Yarplane ASAP via camel. He trades the car for their camels. So they were kind of like shocked that because they were like, oh, we can be in the air conditioning. This is okay. But then he trades the car for the camels. And so they freak out a little bit. And he's like, well, it's kind of like a cash only business type situation. And so he's just has to trade. And then he kind of acts like he knows all about the camels, but he does not. They struggle to get the camels to sit so they can ride. Gramps finally gets one to sit for an apple. He learned all about camels from Lawrence of Arabia. They finally get going with palm leaves tied to their tails to drag and hide their tracks. And I think they've got like these water containers. Kakyoin still says he feels a presence, so Jotaro looks around with binoculars but sees no one. They notice it's 50 degrees Celsius and plan to make camp at dark when Gramps notices it's 8 p.m., but the sun isn't setting and the temperature keeps rising. The sun is rising and they suspect it is a stand. So it should have been going down, but it's going higher up in the sky. And it's just like ginormous.
Yeah, it looks like it's going like supernova practically.
They run behind some rocks, but leave their camels behind. It's now 70 degrees, and they realize they must quickly figure out how to take out the stand user, who must be nearby because of the size and power of the stand. So, like the previous stand user, Dan of Steel, his stand was weak, so he could power it from a distance, but they think since this one is so powerful that the stand user has to be super close. The camels start to collapse from the heat. Cacuine decides to send out Hierophant to do reconnaissance when the sun shoots a magma-type substance hitting the camels and Hierophant and wounding Cacuine and shooting holes in their water cans. Star Platinum punches a hole in the ground for them to hide in. They start to lose their minds from the heat, so all the younger dudes are laughing, and Gramps is like, I'm the only one with keeping my senses, or whatever. Gramps tries to look with the binoculars, but they're shot at and melted. Cacuine, okay, well, I guess I skipped ahead to the laughing. Cacuine begins laughing, then Jotaro and Polnareff. Gramps tries to get them to calm down when Cacuine points out two mirror-imaged rocks that are big enough to hide behind. So it's like their shadows were kind of defying science because it was like a mirror image.
Right.
Jotaro uses Star Platinum to throw a rock that breaks the mirror, and the sun is gone and it is nighttime. Gramps is stunned. They find a little vehicle with air conditioning behind the mirror. The driver is knocked out with a big knot on its head from getting hit by the rock from Star Platinum. And then they kind of contemplate traveling in the dark or sleeping because Gramps says they'll get lost in the dark. I'm not really sure I understand that, or they'll get in trouble traveling in the dark, because it seems like it would be better to travel at night just because of the heat.
Yeah.
And they can follow the stars unless they're afraid of just not seeing stuff and, you're tripping over rocks or I didn't quite understand that.
Yeah, I didn't quite follow their logic either.
And I think some of them were talking about that they wanted to sleep. They have to be exhausted from the heat.
Absolutely.
So I feel like they should at least take a nap before they start moving anyway.
Yeah.
That part with the sun, it was just over so fast with the stand user. I'm not sure if they killed him or not. They didn't really specify, but he did have the big knot. So it was just that whole build up to all of that, and then it was just over very quickly. So it was just kind of oh, okay.
It was sort of interesting because it was a different sort of pace and type of JoJo episode, but it was just kind of a little underwhelming once they did finally just defeat him by chucking a rock at his face.
Yeah, I didn't quite the mirror was small that was in front of him, so I was just kind of confused that they even noticed or figured it out or knew where to throw the rock, because I feel like they easily could have thrown at the other reflected rock. I don't know why they knew that one was the correct place to throw the rock. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure. It might have just been a guesstimate on Jotaro's part. It's maybe it's here.
Yeah, it kind of would have made more sense maybe if he had thrown a few rocks before he got it.
Yeah.
And then I don't understand why Hierophant didn't find him, because they could have went behind it.
Yeah.
Unless it was just way too hot over by him to get close, maybe.
Maybe, or maybe just the range of his stand is just far enough that Hierophant couldn't get over there. I don't know. Just out of reach.
I'm not sure how Gramps has all this money to buy a car, and then he's talking about buying a plane. Kind of would have made more sense to trade that car for the plane.
Yes, I was thinking that too.
But I think they were gonna take the camels. I'm not sure what they're gonna do now. I think all the camels died, or at least were...
At least two of them are dead.
They're not in good shape if any of them survive, how they're getting where they're going, and then how they're gonna buy a plane. I mean, maybe the Speedwagon Foundation gave them money, or Gramps has money. I don't know. But yeah, this was like definitely a different type of episode. And really the one with Man of Steel was kind of different than what they normally do too. So yes, it's not like just the fight like I was complaining about maybe an episode or so ago. Like it's just them fighting and explaining and fighting some more.
So the Sun stand user is named Arabia Fats after piano player Fats Domino. His name was revealed years after the manga was published in a PlayStation port of the JoJo game Heritage for the Future. And then the Sun card itself in tarot represents positivity, success, joy, and optimism. I'm quoting and maybe paraphrasing a little bit my deck, the Ethereal Visions Illuminated Tarot deck. The card shines down confidence and awakening upon you. It is time to embrace the joys in life and leave darkness and confusion behind. My deck has a little bit of a different picture than is in the Rider-Waite deck. This one has like this shirtless young woman, and she's kind of like holding on to the top and the bottom of the sun while looking towards these 4 sunflowers that are facing her away from the viewer. And then the Rider-Waite deck has this naked kid riding on a white horse, the sun smiling down upon them from above. And then there's still sunflowers, but now they're like facing like this way, like towards the viewer. So that is my trivia for the sun. They just kind of went real literal with this one. Like this one, it functions like the sun, so it's just named after the sun card.
Yeah. I mean, obviously for them, the sun wasn't positive, but I guess in general, it's kind of like it brings life. I'm not sure how useful that, or like what does that guy use that for normally? You know what I mean? Like it's just the sun.
I guess he just probably uses it to like give his enemies heat stroke.
Yeah, it's not one that, like it doesn't have like a body and can like beat something up or like go grab something or
it's not very versatile.
Yeah. I mean, I guess kind of having like a mini sun could be useful for some things.
Yeah.
Like put it over, like England so they can have more less foggy days.
Give those people some vitamin D.
Yeah. These guys could have like their own like, I don't know, magician shows or freak shows or something and make money off of these stands and don't really explain what they are. Like
Yeah. Especially since other people can't like see them unless they're a stand user.
But instead they're just like, I'm gonna do evil things with it.
Yeah.
The next 2 episodes are Death Part 1 and 2.
Yeah, we're going into the death card. And so we will just have like 3 more episodes of the podcast. And then we will be getting back to the Powerpuff Girls. We're talking about, Powerpuff Girls Season 3 after this. And then after that, we'll jump back to the second half of Stardust Crusaders. Make sure to watch the next couple episodes first before we discuss it on the pod so you don't get spoiled.
So it kind of like, I was just sort of expecting, I know I'm like jumping in here afterwards, but like we get rid of Inyaba and it was sort of like kind of supposed to be the end of what they had sent of stand users, and now it's like, it's like a whole new group. We haven't really seen more from Dio or whatever about like what else they're up to or planning. It's just like, here's some more stand users.
Yeah, we don't cut back to Dio in a hot minute now.
Or even just like them maybe even calling to check in on Holly or something. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. It's been very focused on the fights that they have along the way.
And Gramps stopping for food.
Yes.
He can be bougie sometimes. Like, we're not eating here, we're eating over there.
Yeah.
Gramps probably has the credit card though, so they gotta go where Gramps says.
Yeah, the other 3 probably have like $20 between.
They're just like killing me all being in the same outfits the whole time. I don't know. Like I'm just like and then they just like majorly sweat it out in the desert. Like
I'd be throwing those away.
they need like where they visit a laundromat and like actually get to relax in a hotel. Every time they like get to stay somewhere, it just gets ruined.
Yeah, there's always someone nearby who wants to kill them.
Let them just go swim or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure we really get any downtime episodes in Stardust Crusaders. We still do a little bit in part 4, though. So that'll be nice.
Well, fine.
Alright, so I think we are ending our discussion here. If you haven't already, it would be super cool to like, subscribe, comment, leave a review, etc., depending on where you are listening to the pod. We would love the feedback, and we would love to get some more folks listening. And if you leave a review, it's more likely that the podcast will get pushed out to more folks who might see the pod and give it a listen.
And we have another podcast, What We Pod in the Shadows, about the TV show What We Do in the Shadows. And right now we're on season 2. So if you want to listen to us discuss a comedy about some vampires living in Staten Island, come check that one out too.
They're far more pleasant vampires than Dio.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's everything that we wanted to discuss for this episode. So until next time, I'll be the roundabout. Goodbye.
Goodbye.